Oh, okay.
and stuff. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, it says that we are live in effect, and I am beyond excited to have this young lady back on my show after it's been over a year since I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk with this amazing woman. Her name is Tamieka Briscoe, and I met her on that app called Clubhouse. One of the best apps in the world, if you ask me, because the type of people, the caliber of people that I've been able to meet and build amazing friendships with. That's the most important thing for me right there.
Yes.
The professional relationships are great, but the friendships that I've built and cultivated and the love that I have for a lot of these people is just the best thing ever. So we're going to stop being all mushy and we're going to get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a conversation with Floyd Marshall Jr. I am your humble host, and tonight I am joined by the incomparable Tamieka Briscoe. She is a writer, she is a director, she is a producer, she is a crowdfunding aficionado. So if you want to know how to raise some money for your project and do it the right way, you are in the right place. So Tamieka, welcome to the show. What's going on? What's going on?
That beautiful welcome is what's going on. How am I supposed to sit through this? I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Floyd. I'm honored that we became friends from Clubhouse as well. And thank you for those kind words.
Yeah, and
And hi, everybody.
yeah, it was absolutely awesome getting to actually meet everyone for the first time in person at the Micho Film Festival last year, and we're going to do the follow up because I plan on coming back in a
Ooh, I
couple of
can't
months.
wait.
So woo, that's some hella feedback.
That was a
So
good
yeah,
time, right?
oh my gosh, Tamika, you got some
Like a
feedback
family
going?
reunion. Oh,
Can,
is there a feedback?
oh yeah, woo, you can't hear
All
it?
right, maybe I should disconnect these because that might be the issue. I don't hear anything. Let me try.
Let's
Uh,
see.
This better?
Oh my gosh, yes, that's much
Oh,
better.
this is the
Ladies
AirPods.
and
Okay.
gentlemen, that's what happens when you're on live. Things happen. But yeah, I'll be back in July, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to come back to the festival because it was amazing.
Yeah,
But I'm just so excited to see all of you again. So
same.
I'm looking forward to that. So let's get into this.
Hmm.
You've been doing this for quite some time. How did you get started in the business?
Oh, great question. So I ever since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted to be like a Hollywood writer. And
Mhm.
I'm from DC, so I don't even think as a little girl I really even understood what that was. But I always just, it was just like an overwhelming feeling whenever I would watch like the Oscars or the Emmys or the BT Awards or any kind of place where they were gathering to celebrate art. Like I always had this overwhelming feeling like I'm going to be there one day.
Mhm.
So, it's true. Like, now I'm in those places and it's super exciting. But yeah, I just always knew. But I didn't take a traditional path in my education or my career. So I didn't go straight to college out of high school. Well, I did, but I pretty much dropped out and, started working and doing things my way. Had my first child at 22. So I was a single mom, and most single moms, well, I can't speak for most single moms, but many single moms, too
Mhm.
many single moms, you know, have the impression that, I have a child, so now I have to just give up on my dreams. And again, being someone who hasn't taken a traditional path, that actually fueled me to say, you know what is it that I really, really, really want to do? So fast forward to 2014. At this now, I have two kids. I'm a single mom of two, and they're age 10 and 4. I decided I'm going to move to Los Angeles and really pursue this dream of being a Hollywood writer. So I bought every screen book known to man about how to break into the industry, how to write, how to do this. I went back to college. It was actually my son's idea. He was 10 at the time. He pitched me on moving to LA because he too is an entertainer. And I couldn't think of any reason why other than, how expensive it is. So I figured I better go back to school, finish up. At the time, I had a bachelor's. So I enrolled into a 1 year master's program, a very intense master's program. There's a reason why grad school is 2 years.
Hmm.
So to really consolidate in one, it was very intense. But so I did that, and yeah, I packed up whatever could fit in 2 suitcases each on Southwest that flew for free, and came here to LA to try to be a screenwriter. And I noticed that everything that I read in the books, that wasn't like feasible for me. Like, there was no sending query letters and an agent's gonna magically represent me and get my career going. Um, I quickly learned that in this town, you're only as relevant as like your latest thing that you've
Hmm.
done. I've quickly found, like, in this town, that people will Google you or IMDb you, is what we call it, in a minute. And that just basically is check to see what you worked on. And you feel really small here with with no project, brand new, not really understanding how to get this going and trying to navigate it. So I found that once I started independently producing my own content, that is when I became a Hollywood writer. And then, even from doing that, now that I've had opportunities to actually, work for other projects, with bigger budgets that are not financed by me and that are part of the Hollywood system, it still was because of the work that I did as an
Hmm.
indie filmmaker that even got me considered for those opportunities. So I know it's a long answer, but that's how I got
No, no,
started.
you actually covered a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask you, but you know what? I'm gonna still ask you.
Okay.
But you know what? Okay, so you were born in DC, and
Mhm.
from the time you were little, you had the bug to
Mhm.
to be, you know, in Hollywood
Yep.
doing what you saw on television.
Yep.
But you're from DC, which is
Mhm.
like a G10 town.
Yeah.
So, what was it like having to explain to people,
Mm.
I'm not looking to get that government job.
Yeah.
I don't want to work for the post office. I don't
Mhm.
want to work for the Pentagon.
Mm.
I want to write. What was that like?
Very great question, because actually my grandmother, she was, I want to say a GS 12, GS 13. She was pretty high in the government. So
Mm,
right out of high school, she got me a government job. So it was even more intense having to tell my family, and especially my grandmother, who actually got me the job, like, in the government. I started with no high school, no anything. I mean, well, no college or anything, as a GS 5. Like, they walked
wow.
me in the door as a GS 5. So whether I went to school or not, I was on track to just, advance each year, get a step or a promotion. So, had I stayed, I would probably be running the government. Who knows? But no, I would really be doing very well in DC standards as
Mhm,
a federal government inspired place. So, but even aside from that, so that was super awkward, but they were supportive. I literally walked away from that government job because it was boring for me. I
mhm,
was called a program support assistant and pretty much like an administrative assistant. I learned a lot, and I appreciate that foundation, because as I became a filmmaker and a producer, a lot of those skills, like, I'm the spreadsheet queen. You know what I mean? I'm very organized. Like, that's why it's so hard for me to even have an assistant, because I have such a strong administrative background that I can just knock it out myself.
mhm.
So, but even to my friends, I always felt like a misfit, because I'm one of very few people in my immediate circle who has like that creative ambition, like that want to actually do it for a living and really thought it was possible. So I always felt like a misfit in DC. I knew I couldn't stay there. I would try to do projects there and get my friends and stuff. And sometimes some people would come through, others would, mostly people would flake. Like, it was very frustrating trying to be an artist in DC, to be honest.
Yeah. And you know what? Going a little off my questionnaire here,
Okay.
the thing that most people do throughout their lives, and especially when they become adults, is
Mhm.
they end up getting that traditional employment, knowing that they want to do something else, and they're miserable.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to see so many people not living and fulfilling their dreams. So
Yeah.
for you to say, you know what, I have to do this. Was that the type of feeling that you had, that I have to do this?
Yeah. Especially like I spoke about because I was a single mom.
Hmm.
I never wanted my kids to feel like there were limitations. I'm a
Hmm.
woman of faith, so one of my biggest things that I carry with me, like my favorite scriptures, are anything in the Bible, and it's there in many variations, but all things are possible with God. All things are possible with God. So for me to raise my children under, that belief, I can't move and navigate life in a way that's squeamish or, afraid. I have to make bold, fearless leaps. And trust me, anybody who loves me, especially my family, especially those who have played it safe and work for the government, like it
Hmm.
had to be a nightmare for them because we really struggled when we first got here. And sometimes I even look back at the tenacity and the real faith that it took
Hmm.
to stick through this, because I'm like, wow, I could have went back home and lived very comfortably, like, but I just stuck it through. And I'm glad that I did. But yeah, it was super important. It was not even a second thought. It had to happen.
Yeah, it's this phrase that I hear a lot of, because I'm really big on personal development, and a phrase that Tony Robbins uses a lot is "burn the ships."
Mm,
And when you get to where you're going, in order to really knuckle down and do what you did by moving to
mhm.
LA with two small kids, you basically burned the ships, because you said, okay, there is no going back.
Yeah.
I can't go back because I ain't got no way to get back, because I just burned the ships. And
Yes.
when I say that to people, they're like, well, what are you talking about? And I say to them, well, how bad do you want
Mm,
this?
mm.
You see what
Wow.
I'm saying?
I
Or
love that.
are you leaving that ship on the beach, so if it gets tough, you can hop on it and go back the way you came
Yep.
from? Mm,
Burn the shit. I like that.
that's when it gets good, because now, and especially in this business, Tamika, you really see who's about this and who's not.
Yeah. You do. You do. You see a lot of people come and go. And it's so funny because, in full transparency, things did get really hard. As my son, in particular, like, went through those middle school ages,
Mhm.
like it was really tough being away from home, and he struggled academically. He struggled. He wasn't. He's never been a misbehaving young man, but he just wasn't on his P's and Q's. So I took a year off, and
Mhm.
um, and I do have the kind of family, especially my dad, who would say, just send him here, we'll take care of him. But I didn't want to do that. I'm like, hey, I'm not really famous. I don't really have any job here. Like, I'm still kind of struggling. I just gave up. Like, I thought that I was going to just go back home and move back home in 2017. So we went back to the DMV, and yeah, got back. My son got back on track, got back onto the honor roll, and then we came back in 2018. So people tell me all the time, they're like, "I never seen anybody that actually came back." Like, people come here, they realize that it's so tough, it's too expensive, it's not worth it, and that's just the in. And I've seen that in my time here since 2014. But no, we came back in 20. We were gone for a year, came back in 2018, and we're here, and yeah, we're here to stay. And sometimes you just have to pivot and
Mhm.
readjust. Like, it's not always just a straight path, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I I've been doing this for 19 years, and my path has been squiggly.
Yeah.
It has never been straight. I have not met one person yet
Hmm.
who has done this and it was a straight path. Because,
Yeah.
like yourself, I had to take a year off.
Ooh.
I had to,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was dealing with some shit.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
I was like, look, I gotta handle that.
Yeah.
This ain't going nowhere. So it'll be there when I get back. And I came back stronger, a lot more calmer. and I was ready to go. So
Yeah,
sometimes you do, as they say, taking the one step back allows you to take two steps forward,
it's
because
true.
you really get to see what's important.
Yeah.
You when you can step back from it, and you can say, okay,
Mhm.
now I can look at this from the outside in.
Yes.
Is that something I really want?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you took that year off, did you
Mhm.
have those conversations with yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Like, one thing about me is I stand like firmly on anything that I do. So even the decision to leave, I had it convinced in my mind that, Tyler Perry didn't leave Atlanta. Like, Hollywood is a zip code. You know what I mean? And it is a state of mind. People like yourself, people like Tyler Perry, people like Oprah Winfrey, like, they don't live in Los Angeles and they're having thriving, successful careers in Hollywood. So I had that set in my mind that, okay, if I got to move back, especially for the sake of my kids, because no matter what, that is my number one priority. Maybe being around some family, maybe being back around his male role models,
Hmm.
that would be what was best at the time. And it was true. But I had to, yeah, have some difficult conversations with myself. But for me, I actually love living here. And, in addition to just the creative community, like, you can walk into any Starbucks and you'll see people typing away on that next big screenplay. Like, I like that feeling. So for me, being home, like being in DC, it was right back to me feeling like a misfit. So that
Hmm.
is why it was like, okay, I need to actually, I'm one of those people who actually just thrive being around that community. I love the warm weather. I was miserable going back to cold and snowy winters. I got a job. So I hated that. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So it was really a blessing that just in a year I was able to turn things around. But one thing about taking a step back, as you said, this time when I came with experience. I came with understanding that I did not have in 2014. I knew people are going to Google me, people are going to IMDb me. This is like, so before I moved from 2014 to 2017, it took me like a while. It wasn't even until like 2016 that I wrote my first ever screenplay, even
Hmm.
though I moved here to be a screenwriter. But I had to move here and learn how to survive. I will say that I appreciate that because LA taught me, it broke my mindset of what I was raised to think, like good government job, 9 to 5, all of that. I learned to, LA will teach you to hustle. So I learned, okay, how much does it take to live in Los Angeles for a month? How do I make that amount of money rather than I have to get a 9 to 5 so that I can do there. So if that meant Postmates or Uber or waiting tables, like whatever it took for me to have the freedom to still be able and flexibility to be able to go and network and do all these things, that's what I learned to do in LA. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for that perspective of stepping away and coming back knowing exactly what I need to do. Like, I got, so when I moved back that in 2018, 2019, I had already like shot my first pilot. Like, I knew
Hmm.
I needed to have something tangible. And then I've just been consistently producing ever since, because I know that that's how it works.
So you have a degree in journalism, correct?
I do. Oh, a
Right.
master's degree. Mhm.
So you have a master's degree, ladies and gentlemen, master's degree in journalism. So you've written novels, you've written blogs,
Mhm.
you're published.
Mhm.
So did all of that also help in your transitioning to Los Angeles and having that hustle mentality? Because as a reporter and as a writer, you
Mhm.
have to go find the story.
Yeah.
So did that help you?
I think it all ties in. How I can tell you how it did not help me, which was the biggest shock of my life, because that was why I went to grad school. So when I moved here in 2014 and started applying to newspapers, and keep in mind, like, I was just fresh out of journalism school and I had all these recent clips that have been published in like major publications. I got like one interview as a reporter, and I never, got any opportunities. I got kind of close,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? But I was never hired. So my journalism degree, in the sense of, getting a career opportunity in journalism, never opened itself up. But I thank God for that, because he knows that was not what I wanted. I did that for the sake of keeping the ship on the shore, just for as a plan B. But there is no plan B. Like when you have faith and you have a gift that God has truly given you, like since I was a little girl, I knew this was my destiny. I knew this is what I wanted. I didn't need a journalism degree for that reason. I need it for
Uh-oh. We had a
it
we
makes me a better storyteller in
mhm.
terms of my screenwriting, and especially now the direction that Hollywood's going with IP and like biopics and like all these great things like that journalism. That's why I have one, and I didn't see it at the time, but I was very discouraged that all my friends that I went to journalism school with, they're thriving, they're reporters, they're verified on Twitter, they're all this, and I'm just like, I can't get a break. I'm doing Postmates, I'm waiting tables. But I knew even when I went to grad school that I was immediately moving to LA as soon as we finished, and that I was gonna, be a Hollywood writer. I just didn't know it wouldn't be a smooth journey.
But you know what's interesting? But the phenomenal thing about what you just relayed is the fact that you did not try to force the issue,
Right.
because so many people try to fit that proverbial square peg into the round hole.
Yeah.
That ain't your lane.
Mm-mm.
Why are you trying to occupy it? You understood that,
Hmm.
and you just sat back. And I knew it was frustrating, but you sat back and you let the blessing occur,
Yes.
because and this is my humble opinion. You said, okay, I'm not going to fight this. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen,
Amen.
and it's
Yeah.
going to take me where I'm supposed to go. And if more
Yeah.
people did that,
Yeah.
just a quick story. I had a conversation with a family member because they wanted to do a certain thing and
Okay.
had tried numerous times.
Hmm.
And my sister, she's very talented, and she just
Okay.
kept wanting to do this thing and do this thing, and they kept telling her no. And I kept asking her, well, but look at who you're coming into contact with.
Yeah.
That other thing is not what God has for you. And you trying to force it is not
Mm-hmm.
going to make it happen. So what's happening right now is this. You're being told no again,
Hmm.
because the blessing that
Yeah.
he has in store for you is so
Mhm.
much bigger than that
Yes.
thing that you want.
Exactly. Woo.
And people don't see that. And
They
she was like, but I
don't.
never looked at it that way. I said,
Yeah.
if you are looking at the people you are coming into contact with
Hmm.
and the connections you are making,
Hmm.
the people that you are bending over backwards to try to get
Hmm.
down with, they will come looking for you.
They will.
Leave it alone. And you are a testament to that, because we've known each other, what, about 2, 3 years now?
Yeah. Going on
And
3
I
years.
remember where you started,
Yeah. Yeah.
totally different from where you are now.
Leaps and bounds for sure. But you know what? To your sister's credit and to just human nature, like at the time, like I can easily sit here in my comfortable Sherman Oaks, digs that it took me a long time to be able to get to, and talk about, oh, all you got to do is just believe. That is the hardest thing to do, because we want what we want when we want it, especially those of us of faith, because we're like, God, come on, like, like this is what I want, like, please, please, please. So sometimes we you have to trust the process, but it is so hard to trust the process, because you have an idea of what you want, the way it's supposed to happen, and it just does not always happen that way. But all's well that ends well, you know what I mean? It's like you still ended up here, and what difference does it make if it took me 10 years or if it took me 10 months? You know what I mean? As long as I get the destiny that I'm supposed to fulfill, as long as I'm able to be a blessing to others, and be a testimony.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true. Um, you worked as a consultant for BET.
Yes.
How did you get that job? How did that
Woo.
happen?
Oh my goodness. The coolest thing is that, and this has just been my testimony, when you are a person of your word, And it doesn't matter what that is. Like for me, it was simply writing a book. If I say I'm gonna write a book and I actually write a book, people begin to take you seriously. So that was all I did at that point. By the time I got the BET thing, I wrote the book. I did go back to school. So I think I was like in my last semester of grad school when I got that opportunity. But it was a friend from high school. And keep in mind, this is not like one of my besties from high school. This is
Mhm.
someone who I was cool with in high school. And we were connected again on Facebook. And they knew someone who had the plug at BET, and they were looking to do a whole bunch of different things. Um, and they brought us into a meeting, and then from there my former boss there, we just clicked immediately. Like we're still in touch to this day. She's no
Mm.
longer an exec at BET. She actually is on her own. She has her own company, her own
Oh,
production
nice.
company now. But yeah, we became fast friends and fast colleagues. And yeah, that was the best. So that happened. I was still in DC, and BT's office was still open in DC, but everyone knew I was moving to LA. But she even asked, she was like, is there any way that you would stay here and like, come full time at BC? And I was like, not a chance. Like my destiny is LA. Because again, even though it's BET, even though I was so grateful, I don't want a 9 to 5. I
Mhm.
don't care who it's for. You know what I mean? Like I that wasn't what I wanted. I want to be a Hollywood writer. So we split the difference, and I got to work remotely as a creative consultant. So I got to work on a number of shows, and that's the coolest thing because that opportunity kind of showed me that again, I don't have to work a 9 to 5 in LA. Then I became and I still remain a consultant for my own clients. Like I do filmmaking consultant and writing coaching and things like that. So it just taught me that you can get paid for your ideas. Like
Mhm.
go figure. And it's the most fun thing in the world because as a creative, you love just spitballing. I do it for free.
Yeah.
But when they gave me that contract, it was like a 20 something page contract, and I didn't even have an attorney at the time, so I don't advise this, but I'm just like talk money, and I'm just but it was that was a game changer for me.
Wow. And how long were you there for?
A couple years. Yep,
Wow.
a couple years until like the DC office pretty much closed. um but again, like it was incredible because my first day here, like I touched down June 2014,
Mm.
and they were doing the BET awards. So I got to go to the rehearsals, and like for the first time in my life, I realized how close I am. Like
Mhm.
I am close. Like I am sitting in the row. Like only people here are like behind the scenes people, like who are at the rehearsal. So the big show is the next day. So it was like John Legend. I'm like in the fifth row, like, and they're literally right here. Like if I could just reach out and touch, let us see Yolanda Adams. Like I'm like, wow, like I am here. And this was my very first day that I touched down to LA to move here. Like I that's how things like just quickly seemed like it was coming together. But as we know, it didn't come together that fast. But
Mm. Well, let me
mm-hmm.
ask you a question before I get to this other question. You were sitting that close,
Mm-hmm.
so you were in proximity.
Yeah,
Do you think that more people would stick with it if they knew how close they actually were? Not
yeah,
saying that you don't have to put in the work,
mm-hmm.
but that it's like a very thin film
Yeah,
that if
yeah,
you just keep poking at it, it's going to
yep,
break.
yes,
So do you
yes,
think a lot more people, if they understood, because I listen to
mm-hmm.
a lot of people that are very successful and they say at that moment when you're ready to throw it in is the moment
Yeah.
you should just take a couple extra steps because you're
Mm.
right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if they truly understood that, they would stick with it because it's true. It's almost like chipping away at like a block of ice. Like that's hard. It's going to, but I mean, the only thing that is going to get you to break that ice is consistency, and then the elements are going to, it can't stay, it's not in a freezer anymore. So it's going to get a little bit easier. Like you just got to keep chipping away, and you don't know how many hits it's going to take, but you got to keep doing it. And the only guaranteed way that you won't win is if you don't try. So giving up is just not an option. Like, pivot by all means, because sometimes you could be doing it wrong.
Mhm.
And I definitely started doing it wrong. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was reading books and being in a state of aspiring, which you all know I don't even like that word anymore. Like, because you can get too comfortable. Once you label yourself as aspiring,
Mhm.
you're comfortable.
Mhm.
Aspiring, you can aspire for a day, I'll say. After that, you need to be actively becoming.
Mhm. 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 Well, you know how I am, because when we've done rooms together and somebody say aspiring, I'm like, you better cut that shit out. Aspiring to what?
Right, right. Not many things you have to be aspiring to very long. Like an aspiring surgeon, okay, yeah, but at least you're in medical school. So now you're a med student, you're not an aspiring anything. Like the second that you take an action to become,
Mhm.
you're no longer aspiring. Aspiring is just not good enough. You know what I mean? Like you're better than aspiring. Do it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's a language thing.
Hmm.
Aspiring, you know, okay, you're a practicing actor.
Hmm.
You're not aspiring, because if you've done something, no one said you did it well, but you did it.
You did it.
So
Exactly.
then what you then do is you
Yeah.
keep doing it. Like you said, the consistency, you keep doing it, and the more
Yeah.
you do it, the better
Yeah.
you get. And
Yeah.
and to your point with the chipping, I was listening to this podcast with Ed Milet, one of my favorite people, and he
Hmm.
talked about one of his kids years ago being at a party with a pinata, and all
Hmm.
the kids kept walking up, hitting the pinata, but
Hmm.
it didn't burst. He said, but everybody kept hitting that pinata.
Hmm.
And then the last person came up and hit it, and all the candy spilled out, and everybody got the reward. And he said, why was that? He said, because it didn't happen on the first hit, or
Yeah.
the second, or the third, or the fourth. He
Mm.
said, but people kept
Yeah.
hitting,
Yeah.
and then here comes the reward. Basically, what you said as far as the chipping at it.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, but let's talk about this amazing project that you did under the most extreme of conditions. Tamieka Briscoe actually produced a phenomenal web series in quarantine entitled QT. How did you come up with the concept, and how did you pull that off? Because the year you made it, everybody was in lockdown. Wasn't no going outside.
Yeah. That was truly incredible. And, there is no real answer other than God, like literally. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So, and it's so interesting because I was talking to someone on my team recently, like literally, being a journalist, like I love the news, I respect the news, is my jam, you know what I mean? So, and then also, as we've established, I'm a woman of faith. So, those are two very important factors to what I'm about to say. So then 2020 happened. And I don't, as you can see, I pack up kids and move across the country from all my support systems and figure it out. Like that's the kind of bold faith that I have. So I'm not someone who gets scared very easily. But again, 2020 happened. And then this disease that we did not understand, and especially at the time, at the onset of COVID-19, the numbers were strange because it just seemed like it was just rapidly taking a lot of lives. Like there were, you know, like so many cases and so many deaths. Like it was scary. Like there's no other way around it. So I go to church, and I attend, the Potter's House at 1LA, which is Pastor Terry Roberts and Sarah Jakes. I mean, yeah, Sarah Jakes Roberts. Those are my pastors. So Pastor T was doing a sermon virtually, and he said, you know what? Some of y'all are going to have to go on a media fast, in this season because, it's going to be kind of scary. So as someone that go to church, sometimes the sermon, it hits you like a ton of bricks. And sometimes you're like, oh, that's not my word. Like, I know that can't be my word. Like
That
media
ain't
fast.
me.
Me?
You ain't
A
talking to
media
me.
fast? I am a journalist. You know, like it just, so I didn't think that word was for me, but then I did start to feel these overwhelming feelings of fear. So I went on a 10-day fast and I did not eat during certain hours. I did no media whatsoever. So not only did I not watch the news, I had no social media, I didn't watch TV, I didn't do anything. So in that silence for that 10 days, I was actually able to hear from God, and he just put it lightly, dropped it in my spirit, like do a web series like about dating in quarantine. And I'm just like, and then the only thing that came to me, and this was actually on April 1st, 2020. Literally, I remember it just like yesterday. The idea, and all I had was like the idea that a woman would be getting ready for a date, and we'll see her kind of getting ready. And then it looks like she's stepping out for a night on the town, and then she goes and sits in front of her laptop, and it's like the new normal. So that was like literally all that I had. So who knew that it would grow into something that we would do for 2 seasons? We would get distribution on Tubi, which again, before Clubhouse, I didn't even know was an option. We would go on and raise all this money and do a spinoff. And most recently, on April 1st, 2023, we began production of a feature film which called Spawns, which is a spinoff of QT Second Shot to begin with. And it's my first feature film, and it is amazing. So to answer the question, like I got the idea from God, and he has just continued to multiply it and grow it. And now with Spawns, that's growing, and we have names attached to that. Like we're going into post on that. Like it's just truly phenomenal.
So basically, what you're saying is when, peace be still.
Amen.
When you
Woo.
sit and you're still,
Yes.
because that's when, and that's what one of the reasons I'm really big on meditation,
Mm-hmm.
because that's when a lot of things
Yeah.
are revealed,
Mm-hmm.
because you're sitting still and you're not letting any outside things come in, which is absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, there's this word called discernment.
Mm.
And sometimes if you get real quiet,
Yeah.
you'll hear some things. And
Yeah.
and wow, that is so crazy how your pastor said, go on this media fast
Mm-hmm.
because of all the noise.
Yes. Yes.
And you're sitting there and say, he ain't talking to me. And
Mm-mm.
God's saying, Tamieka, oh, he talking directly to you. Because in
Me.
order for that breakthrough to come,
Yeah. He had to hear. I had to hear from him.
you had to hear it.
Especially out here, it's grind, it's grind, it's grind. And I'll be fully honest, and I am ashamed of this, but I haven't done a serious fast like that since. So
Mhm.
who knows how many things that God is trying to get through to us. But don't misunderstand me. He'll get it through you one way or the other. But it's just important to get silent sometimes. Like the grind will always be there. The
Mhm.
grind is sold separately. Like you can go get that anytime. But the quietness and the stillness, that is important too.
Mhm. Yeah, but you know what? I think as creatives, we just don't know how to sit still.
Right. Yeah.
Because my wife's like, yo, you doing something else? I'm like, yeah. She's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, didn't you just do that? I'm like, yeah. She said, and you adding something else? Really? I'm like, I don't know how to do it any other way.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I feel
It's
you.
it's it, it's in our blood. But then some days I
Yeah.
just have to actually force myself. I'm like, all
Yes.
right, don't happen that often, but turn off your
Mhm.
phone, turn
Ooh.
off your computer, and just
Yeah.
and girl,
Wow.
I had the most phenomenal ideas. So then I'm writing in my book like, oh snap,
Yep.
because
See?
I let the interference,
Yes.
die down. But let's
Yes.
let's keep this moving. So you do QT, then you do QT second shot. But in order to do all of that stuff, you got to have money. And you raised quite a bit of it. $80,000 to be exact. I'm telling you business because it's out there. You
Public
raised
record, right?
$80,000 uh, on Clubhouse and other places. So, what made you decide that you needed to crowdfund for these projects?
Very good question. Okay, so again, being someone who moved across 3,000 miles, to be in LA, moved back 3,000 miles, and then moved back 3,000 miles, like a zigzag across this country. Like I became an expert on what's necessary. And I become an expert on closed mouths don't get fed. I became an expert on no matter what these books tell you, there is no mythical agent that is just going to come and sign you, and you can be as talented as you want, but until people know who you are, um it's just lost. You know what I mean? So it was important to me to create something. So I will say yes, you kind of need money, which is why I did the crowdfunding. But before I get into that, I want to, because I know I'm talking to new filmmakers here. You don't always need money, but what I have, which is how I was able to get money. But even before, QT was done on we did it remotely, right? So that didn't require a lot of money. What you need is community, and you need people who will believe in you and who will collaborate with you and help you, that will see your vision and, help you bring it to life. That's ultimately what you need. But people have bills and responsibilities. So as a result, that's why you need money. So, but I just want people to know that you can use what you have. You can use what you have in your household and your iPhone, and that's not, money in addition to what you've already spent. You just use your resources and you use your community, which you do have, and you can get things done. But from there, because I used the resources that were available to me at that time. We did QT in its remote format for 2 seasons. We were coming out of quarantine, so the climate was changing. So we didn't want to do a third season of that Zoom. Like, we all were Zoomed out, we all were FaceTimed out. Like, we were all just excited to be back outside. So we wanted the story to kind of reflect that. Because the cool thing about what happened with QT is that we were doing it in real time. We were only 6 to 8 weeks behind everything. So even when the election happened, like, we got to document that, like what people were doing, how people were dancing in the streets. Like, even though COVID was going on, they were just so happy that the election turned out the way it did. So we were like in real time, we were dealing with like the protests, and we did so much, like, so that was really cool. So even us doing QT second shot with real cameras, like that too was us documenting history, that it went from being on lockdown to doing this. But we needed money then, because we needed a crew and all the things that production. So the quickest way was just to go to my community. And I was very fortunate to have the success I did with fundraising, is because I knew what was clear, that I knew what I needed, and people can't help you if you don't even know what you want. So even when it comes to crowdfunding, I had to be specific. Like, okay, guys, we need to make $40,000, and we need it in 6 weeks. So then my brilliant crowdfunding manager, Shakisha Williams, and we would strategize, and we came up with the hashtag 40K in 40 days. 40K in 40 days. Like, so people knew it. They understood the urgency. They understood the amount that we needed. So that first year, we were able to do that. And we did it mostly on Clubhouse, but it also took me picking up the phone and really calling people, putting myself out there. People who I'm terrible for not calling since I was a little girl, and saying, hey, auntie, can you help me out? But that's how we reached our goal. And then the following year, we just ran an almost identical campaign, and we raised a little over 70. So we didn't quite get to 80 through crowdfunding. But we've surpassed that, because with the same project, now I'm at a position that so it's kind of like, this is the trajectory. When it came to advancing my own money, QT season 1 and 2, that was betting on myself. That meant spending my own money to get it to where it is. Because I did a project that people saw that they could see, like it's real. So you, like I told you, when I did the book, that's why my friend gave me the meeting with BET, because it's like she's someone who, if she says she's going to do it, she's going to do it. So any opportunity you're going to get is going to come from you being successful in following through with your word, saying you're going to do something. So I invested in myself, did QT season 1, season 2. So therefore, when I went to the community and said, hey, we want to continue what I've already done,
Mhm.
it was a no-brainer. People flooded. We have over 600 donors. Sometimes, occasionally, people still will go on the crowdfund and give something. I have a friend that literally sent me money today. You know what I mean? And I told her, like, no, we're good. You know, she's like, I just still want to support. You know what I mean? Like, like it's completely unnecessary, but completely dope. You know what I mean? Like, thank you. Like, just a little love seed, just knowing, like, hey, you're gonna probably need to do something. So I just
Mhm.
want to
Mhm.
be a part
Put
of
that
it.
in escrow. Put that in escrow.
Put it in escrow, exactly. But no, trust me, there's always something that needs to be
Mhm.
done, or or errand that needs to be done. So then, with the success of the crowdfunding, and they saw what I was able to produce, QT Second Shot, and see the kind of story that I'm able to tell, and to see that I actually deliver on what I say I'm going to do. Now, with this feature film that I had, clearly it's a much bigger budget. It's a feature film, but I had investors, so I didn't have to crowdfund this time. I actually have investors, but it's still the same premise. Like, it's just instead of getting 600 people to, chip in, you get like 6 people to, give a lot, and then we get it done. So
So how did the investors hear about you? Did you approach the investors or did they
I
come
know
to
them
you?
personally. Every
Okay.
investor I have is a combination between family and friends. So yeah, that's how they heard about me. But again, that means nothing. Everybody has family and friends, but if you don't have a proven track record, and especially now that we're on an investment level, if you don't have the likelihood to generate a return, that's not going to be something that's feasible to get.
So you, because people talk about this all the time, and I'm gonna say it, people that don't know say this. They initially say never use your own money, use someone else's money. That's not entirely true.
Yeah.
Initially, it's your money.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be your money
Right. Because
because
who in the
I'm
world
not
gonna give you money if on your word, or you've never done
no
anything?
right. I'm not going to spend my money if you've never spent any of your money
Right. Exactly.
because I want to see, even if your project flopped, I want to see that you were willing to put skin in the game.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you're going to ask me for mine,
Yeah.
I need to see some receipts from you,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. I don't
when
know who made that up, but it is. I mean, I would challenge that person to step forward and let me know how you were able to pull that off. Like how you were able to get other people's money without ever putting up any of your own.
well, I think when people get to a certain level, they tend to forget where they started,
True.
because you're so up there. Oh, I don't use my own money. Well, you know what? You got 10 major motion pictures under your belt through a Hollywood studio, so you could say something like that. But the
Exactly.
independent artist
Hmm.
has no choice but to use their own money because people like yourself, and you know what's interesting about that? The people that say that ain't trying to write the people that need it a check.
That is true.
Because if you want me to use someone else's money, I'm asking you for it, but you're like, well, what
Yeah.
you got to show me? Well, I don't have anything to show you because I ain't got no money. That's why I'm asking you for yours.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But let's talk really quickly because we're about to wrap this up because I know you're so busy because you got things going on.
Thank you.
I want to touch on the power of relationships and
Mm,
collaboration
yes.
because you are really the poster child for that.
Mm,
Because for over 600 people, And I count myself in that number, ladies and gentlemen. I done
Yes.
donated and bought merchandise
Yes,
because I
you have.
believed in what you were doing.
Thank you.
What does that mean to you? The power of having built professional relationships, but more importantly, personal friendships with people, because I consider you a friend.
Oh,
Love you to
yeah,
death.
absolutely.
Consider you, love you to life. Consider you a friend.
Same here. Um, it means everything. Like, and then especially when I think of the 600 and by now 7 investors,
Mhm.
I feel like I love every single person the same. You know what I mean? And I appreciate every single person the same. If you gave $5 to me, in fact, I if I had to be honest, I value those people a little bit more than anybody because for you to show up and give $5, that kind of shows like you don't have it, but you just want to give something. Like, so that means something to me. Like, it's something about it. But everybody, whether you gave $5, 500, 5,000, and the numbers that we're now dealing with, I appreciate it. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, it just for someone to believe in a dream that I've held so long and and especially for a project that I know was truly me just acting on obedience. You know what I mean? And just seeing how God has taken a seed and it's just grown and grown and grown and it's just been it's there are no words for that. Like, I'm just grateful. Like, I'm just truly, truly grateful. That means so much. And I honor everyone with continued work, and when you donate any amount or when you invest any amount, you help me create jobs. Like, you help me tell stories with Black faces. Like, I can't wait for you to see what we just shot. Like, I had this long vision of, um, because I was very blessed growing up that my parents knew I was a creative. So they never like put limits on what I could watch. So I
Mhm.
grew up watching soap operas. So I always wanted to be like a soap opera writer, but with Black people. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about like the greats like Dynasty and Dallas and things like that. So with this project, I hope that people will see that influence. But just to see Black people in affluent and opulence and just big, big, big. And I really believe we achieved that. And I'm so grateful because, I've been backed
Whoa.
by the community.
I can't wait to see this. And we should see those things because we occupy every level of
Hmm.
life,
Yes, we do. Yes,
from the lowliest to the highest. Nothing
yes,
against, the lowliest. It just is what it is. But
yes,
we
yes,
occupy all of those spaces and to continuously see films and television shows and it's one way and one way only. And you're saying to yourself, that is not my existence.
yeah,
That is not my truth.
yeah.
I ain't living like that.
No,
I don't know anybody living like that. So
yeah,
why is that the only thing that I'm
yeah,
seeing?
yeah.
Not that I'm bougie, because
No,
I straight grew up in the hood, but
same.
that
Yeah,
ain't my life no more. I mean,
right. Yeah,
it is what it is. So
yeah,
why can't I see something that is
yeah.
reflective of where I am and where my friends are? I've been married for
Exactly.
35 years. All my friends are married.
Yeah,
So why can't I see shows where Black couples are deeply in love? They raise
yes,
their kids are
yes,
phenomenal. They ain't
yeah.
traumatized.
No,
Why can't I see
definitely
something like
not.
that?
And why can't we see ourselves with wealth? You know what I mean? Like, we even if we don't have it, we should be able to visualize and see that. And one thing I'm very proud of is that Spawns, it's a very multi-generational story. And we have centered the um the matriarch.
Mhm.
Marianne Alda is our matriarch. So I love, adore her. Like, I'm a fan, and now I've had a chance to actually work with her. And it's just important, especially for us Black people, like to, you know, uplift our community at its top from the top and watch it start to trickle down because what's been happening is that we age ourselves out. You know what I mean? In traditional Hollywood stories that I've seen, I'm 42. Like, I'm washed up. You
Hmm.
know, let what the community says. You know what I mean? Like what we're seeing on TV. Like you see younger millennial stories. You see like 20 somethings. Like everything is based there. So I'm super excited and proud that we have like a multi generational story. So we have our matriarch all the way down to like like adolescence in this
Oh, wow.
story,
Oh, that's
and it's
beautiful.
black wealth and black excellence, but it's treachery and deception and all those great things that make it a soap. But it is phenomenal. I can't wait for y'all to see it.
And I can't wait to see it. So, last question. What advice would you give an aspiring writer or anyone looking to join this business?
Okay, my first of all is you have one day to be aspiring, as you know, because especially being a writer, you pick up a pen, it's done. Now you are a writer, and there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with being an emerging writer, a new writer, but an aspiring is just giving you time to just. It's a cop out,
Yeah, you
you
know what it
know.
is.
Hmm.
It
It is,
is.
it is
Because you could
right,
be an aspiring for 10 years.
right. Because you're not accountable. Aspiring just kind of gives you like a hall pass to just be there. You know what I mean? But no. So the first thing is write. Get it done. Write it. Do it afraid. Do it badly. Just do it. Because what you're gonna do, writing is rewriting. It's rewriting. It's rewriting. It's like and there's coverage and there's table reads and it's getting your friends and your family together. There's workshopping your script. Like just get it done. It does not have to be great. Like, trust me, if you knew some of my early stuff, I wouldn't say it was bad because obviously, I've been storytelling and trained as a writer for a while, but it wasn't industry format, that's for sure. Like, I had to actually learn that and I had to, realize that sometimes I was shooting my shot prematurely. Um, but shoot your shot, but just make sure you're in a good position. Like, shooting your shot is just not something you do aimlessly. Close your eyes and, throw the ball up and think you're gonna sink it. Like it has to be the right positioning and the right time, and then you'll sink it. And don't worry about that. Like there are so many ways. I personally think that independent filmmaking is the greatest opportunity for at least people of color to break into the industry. Um, it's just been my experience. And even as I look to my left and to my right at some of my peers and seeing how they got their start, it just is the easiest pathway. You know what I mean? You can win some film festivals awards. You can, get yourself out there. And when you do, like it's gonna happen. But bet on yourself, invest in yourself. Don't be in an aspiring state too long. Like pull the band-aid off. Like just do it. Like it's writing, you're collaborate, show up in service to others. A lot of the reason why I got the support that I did from so many people is because I'm in service and I support everybody as well. You know what I mean? Like one hand washes the other in this industry. That's my best initial advice.
And that was some absolutely amazing advice. That was a masterclass for all of you not aspiring writers, content creators, filmmakers. It's that was amazing. This was awesome. I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to sit down again with you and to talk. You're definitely going to have to come back. We're going to have to do a group session with a couple of
Ooh,
with our good friends. You know what I would love, because I'm gonna have Hilliard
ooh.
on next month. I would love to have you and Hilliard on together.
I would love that. And shout out to Hilliard because I don't remember what happened, but somehow he ended up opening his offices to us. So for a writer's room
Oh,
and
wow.
we actually did our QT second shot um writer's room in there at his offices. And it felt so good because he's a beast. Like, so just that good writing energy. We had some good ideas that day. So shout out to Hilliard. He's amazing. I
Yeah,
would love to be anywhere that Hilliard is.
yeah, he's dope, and I love his podcast, The Rant Room.
Yes, it's
It's
dope.
educational. It's
Y'all
educational.
both
So
got dope podcasts. I love it.
well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you guys make it so much better. And speaking of, just practicing, and getting better, if people go back and look at me when I first started, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Now
it's
look at you.
yeah.
You've had stellar guests. I mean, it's amazing. But that just goes to show, like, it's a testament to who you are. Like, you go after it and you make it happen. Like, and it's a great place to be. And it's always a great conversation with Floyd
Yes.
Marshall Jr. And I have my sweatshirt. I should have wore it today.
I did, you know what? And I watched the pink sweatshirt. I'm like, you know what? I just dropped the ball, but that's
I
okay.
know, me too, but it's okay. When
When
my
you come
next
back
one,
with
I'll
Hilliard,
be booted in my gear, my merch. Yeah.
you know what? Now, when Hilliard comes on May 18th, I'm going to
Okay.
say, hey, Hilliard, you and Tamieka have to come on the podcast together. So I got to put that bug
I would
in
love
his
that.
ear and everything. But
Yes.
Tamieka, thank you so much for gracing me with your presence for the last hour. It has been absolutely amazing. And it is so good to actually see you again. I retire next year, so I'll be flying back and forth a hell of a lot more
Wait, I
than
can't
than
wait.
me neither, girl. You can't wait. I can't wait. Shit. But ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much.
Mhm.
I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode tonight with the amazing Tamieka Briscoe, and I hope that some of the things that she's told you can now incorporate into your own writing or into your own content creating or your creation of IP, because that's basically what it's all about. Because this is a business, ladies and gentlemen, and this is one of the most prolific business women you will ever meet. Oh, before we go, where
Mhm.
can people find you?
Oh, I'm at Tamieka Briscoe on everything. That's TamiekaBriscoe.
So if you need script consulting or some filmmaking consulting, make sure you hit her up. Ladies and gentlemen, she charges. I just want to put that out there. She charges. So please know, can you do this for free? Don't do that, please. Again, this is a
Thank you so
business. But yeah, please, if you like the episode, share it on Apple, because my thing is, in order for more people to hear about it, you guys got to share it so then I can go up in the algorithms. That's the way
much.
the way this thing works. It is
Can't
what it
wait
is.
to hear it.
But ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining me and my good friend Tamieka Briscoe on a conversation with. And I will end this as I end all my episodes. Love this like a hobby, but above all else, treat it like a business. Good night.
Good night.